Hello, my friends. Welcome, welcome. We are a few minutes late. What a surprise, but that's okay because we love yourself. So it's all good. I hope everybody's doing well on this Monday. It feels a little mild outside right now, but I hear it's supposed to be a little snowy possibly tomorrow. Who knows, right? I'm just coming off of a really crazy week. Last week, I know some of you knew that I was at New Jersey Education Association convention presenting in Atlantic City. I was presenting on mindfulness-based strategies for inclusive and empathic and focused classrooms, and we had a full room, over 45 people in the room. They really need to put me in bigger rooms, but nobody listens. So we had to turn people away, which was a shame, but it was great. We had a really lively group, and it was a Friday afternoon. It was the last session of the conference, Friday afternoon, so they were real troopers. I also had two presentations in Wanacue School District, right in close to my hometown, which were wonderful. We talked a lot about ADHD and then about challenging behaviors, and I also was down in Philadelphia teaching my course for UPenn. So it was a busy, busy, busy week, but here we are. It is Monday, so welcome, welcome. So last Monday we discussed the difference between worry and anxiety. And we said that worry was more specific, it was more mentally focused, whereas anxiety was more diffuse and it was felt in the body. It also was more emotionally intense, anxiety, than worry. And sometimes worrying could lead to action, but not always. So today I want to give you 3 mindful ways to manage your worries. 3. It's always the magic number. 3 mindful ways to manage your worry. But before I do, just a quick announcement. If you're local to the Bergen County area, every first Wednesday of the month, I am partnering up with my friends at the Artist Collective in Westwood to host a meditation and discussion, which is really great because it benefits local charities. And I am launching a course for educators in the new year, which I'm really, really excited about. It's in the works right now, and I'll have more information about it, but it's going to be an excellent resource for teachers who really, really need us to wrap our arms around them right now. Okay, so 3 tips to manage worry through a mindfulness lens, okay? So the first tip that I want to give you, and it sounds counterintuitive, is to look right at them, okay? To look right at them, to look right at your worries. So mindfulness teaches us to notice our thinking with a kind, witnessing stance. It teaches us how to observe our experience and also our worries, our thoughts, with a kindness and a curiosity. So when we practice mindfulness, when we practice a formal guided practice, we're noticing the thoughts that are coming up, we're being aware of them, we're curious about them, we see them, and then we let them go. We shift our attention back to our anchor point. So if we're going to manage worry, we first need to look at them. So rather than trying to push them away or distract ourselves away from them, or to let them kind of hang out in the subconscious and just drive our emotions and behavior, that's where we get into trouble with worry, is that sometimes we don't even realize that they're there. And then we find ourselves feeling emotional distress, or we find ourselves, in some kind of turmoil or having a difficult time, and we don't even know why. So step 1 is to look right at them, which leads me into step 2, which is how we're going to do that. So voicing them is one way that you could look right at them, maybe sharing them out loud, like with a therapist or your partner or your cat, I don't care who. But the really powerful way that I teach people to work with worry is to write them down, okay? To do what's called a thought dump. All right, so when I'm working with children, I sometimes will put a graphic of like a brain on a piece of paper, or you could just use a Post-it note, or for yourself, you can use a journal. But writing down your worries as sentences, making a nice list, will help you to look at them and to give you some space between yourself and your worries. Okay, because what happens is they kind of become a part of us and we feel like we can't get away from them. So, being able to look at our worries objectively with some kindness and some curiosity is one way that we're going to work on managing them. Write them down on a piece of paper or say them out loud. Okay? And the third thing is that we're going to learn about what are called cognitive distortions or thinking traps, okay? Thinking traps or cognitive distortions. Now, I'm going to post a document, I'm going to post online a document about specifically all about working with our thinking traps that you can absolutely grab, snatch up, and work through. But just very briefly, let me give you an example. One of my worries right now is whether to put my daughter into kindergarten when she's able to enter, or to hold her back an extra year in pre-K because she has a September birthday. So I have this choice that will, I think, well, see, this is where my cognitive distortions come in, dictate her entire educational future, whether I leave her back a year or I push her ahead. So she is either going to be the youngest child in her grade or the oldest child in her grade. And it's a worry of mine that kind of consumes my thinking at times. And I have these thoughts like, what if she is the youngest and she can't keep up with the work? Or what if she's the oldest and she's so bored in class in kindergarten because she knows everything, and then she becomes a behavior problem? And in my mind, I'm going into these wild stories about seeing my daughter in a classroom misbehaving herself and being bored and rambunctious and causing behavior issues in a classroom. So my mind is doing a thinking trap, falling into this trap called catastrophizing. Anybody have any catastrophizing thinking going on out there? Yes, I'm sure you do. So there are certain categories of worry called cognitive distortions, cognitive meaning thinking, distortions, obviously what that means, or thinking traps. So when you learn about the different kinds of thinking traps, like black and white thinking or catastrophizing or the rest of the very common ones that I will post for you, then you can start to identify them so that when those worries come up, you have a label to put on them. So you're going about your business, making your tea in the morning, and all of a sudden you notice that your mind starts to spin into these worries. You get consumed. Your attention is consumed by these worries. You can then say to yourself, oh, black and white thinking. And just by labeling it, you're putting some distance between yourself and the thought. You're back into your rational thinking mind, out of that emotional part of the brain. So the 3 tips just to review, hi friends, the 3 tips just to review for mindful strategies for handling worry. Number 1 is to look right at them. Look right at them, meaning we are observing our worries with a witnessing and kind stance. And how do we do that? We practice mindfulness. We do a few minutes of guided practice a day. I have an entire CD of guided practices on Spotify called Roots and Wings Mindfulness Meditations. You can find it there. I'll post a link. The second thing we do is we're going to thought dump out those worries. And our students or our children really benefit from doing this as well. You can write for them or they can write themselves. Give them the space to get the worries out of their minds, out of their thinking, so that they can objectively look at them. And then we're going to learn more about those thinking traps or those cognitive distortions. And I will post a really great resource for you guys to use to work through those. So those are my 3 tips for mindfully working through your worries for today. And next week, we will talk about anxiety, which is different, and strategies for managing anxiety. Okay, my friends, that's what I have for you today. Make sure you check out the links that I will also share below so that you're able to get all of the resources that I'm providing in this particular, related to this particular talk. Have a great week. Have a great rest of your Monday and enjoy managing your worries. Take good care.